Trent University is partnering with clean technology integrator Ameresco to install energy efficiency upgrades to reduce the university's carbon footprint. The upgrades include an on-campus battery energy storage system that will also support the provincial power grid. So I'm going to talk to Joe Valente, who's the VP of Business Development for Ameresco, about that project. So welcome to the interview, Joe.
Thank you very much, Markham. Pleasure to be here.
Now, I've interviewed your company before about upgrades that it's undertaken in school districts, for instance. So here we have one with the university, and it's got battery storage integrated. Now, I think that's a very interesting concept because we see it in increasingly in homes. How does it work on a university campus?
Well, it's a good question. First of all, the university wanted to partner with Ameresco in order to implement an energy performance contract. And that was just a way of structuring a solution that would allow them to meet all of their objectives on the campus. And I can talk about that in a moment, but it was a combination of energy efficiency measures designed to reduce operating costs, also reduce their carbon footprint. But then there was further an opportunity to integrate a battery energy storage system that would allow them to further contribute to reducing their carbon footprint, but also saving upwards of $1 million a year in global adjustment fees. The concept being that you can implement a battery storage system. You charge that battery at night when the provincial energy grid is at its lowest cost and also its lowest carbon footprint. So you charge it at night and then you discharge during the day during peak demand periods when the province typically uses gas-fired generation as an example to meet their peak needs. So the battery serves a number of purposes. It gives them resiliency. It allows them to reduce their carbon footprint and also reduce costs. So it's been a very, very good solution. Process of implementing that now.
Now, the global adjustment fee is in Ontario. It's unique to Ontario, I think.
It is.
Right. And so is the savings that came, that were accomplished by reducing that fee, did that make the economics of the battery work better?
It did, very much so. So as I mentioned, we implemented an energy performance contract around sort of a holistic view of their portfolio, their campus buildings. And it was everything from boilers to lighting to automation, automated booking system. But they wanted to go further. And if we looked at the utility bill, they're a Class A customer. That's just a rating for a customer that's over 5,000 kilowatts a year. We wanted to see if there was a way to further reduce the actual cost to the university. Global adjustment, to your point, is really the way that the independent energy system operator funds the gap between what they charge for electricity and what they pay out to generation and distribution. So there's a gap there. So what they do is they provide a non-bill tax, if you will, to all participants. And in effect, Trent was paying their share of the 5 peak demand periods during the year. So whatever Trent was using during those peak demand periods is what their share of that global adjustment is over a 12-month period. By installing the battery and by using algorithms that we have and other partners to manage the operation of the battery, we in effect eliminate those 5 peaks for the university. So their global adjustment fee is 0 at that time. And we've estimated that that can be upwards of $1 million a year in savings for the university. So it's quite significant. To answer your question, the battery economics are made even more positive by the global adjustment fee.
Now, does this battery system that you installed, is it sufficient to serve the entire campus? I'm not sure if I'm asking the right question here. I guess if you charge it up at night, how much of the campus can it power and for how long?
Yes, so we did an analysis based on the energy savings that we generated through our performance contract. We also looked at their current needs, and we sized the battery appropriately so that not only can we use it to eliminate the global adjustment fees, but it can also be used in effect as a UPS for the campus to address their energy needs during power outages. So it will run the campus for 2 hours, which we felt and the university felt was more than enough time to address any potential outages.
Now, you undertook other upgrades too, and one that caught my eye was a carport canopy, photovoltaic, and electric charging station.
Yes, so as part of the battery storage solution, we also wanted to look at ways to, let me step back for a moment. The university is really seen as a leading environmental institution. It was important to them that they lead by example. So the standard energy measures were reducing their footprint and also their cost by a significant amount, but they also wanted to implement other leading technologies. So one is the battery system, and another was photovoltaics, to your point, connected to EV charging. So they wanted to actually use those as demonstration projects. So it'll be fully visible for all their students to see. And the university is also quite interested in implementing these solutions and have it potentially as part of a course curriculum.
Now, Joe, there's a lot of emphasis on decarbonizing the building stock in North America, where a lot of Canada particularly, we get a lot of cold weather. And yes, often for universities, for instance, the buildings are old, they're drafty, they've got older, inefficient heating and cooling systems. Can upgrades like this address those issues of the cost and the inconvenience of trying to retrofit older buildings to lower their energy costs and their emissions?
Yeah, it's a very good point. And the goals that the university had, and it leads to the question that you raised, is they wanted to, first of all, reduce operating costs. That's a given. They also wanted to reduce their carbon footprint and GHG emissions. The third part, or the third goal that they were looking at, was really how do we also address the need to renew aging infrastructure around energy and other building systems. So a performance contract really just utilizes a cash flow neutral solution, if you will, whereby operating savings that are generated actually pay for the capital improvements. We look at the campus comprehensively, however, and say, there are measures that will pay for themselves quickly. There are measures that perhaps you wouldn't do on your own because they might have a long payback, could be 20 years. By blending short and long-term paybacks, you're able to get a financial structure that actually works for the university and works for lenders. So we were able to actually implement or install energy efficiency measures, but also non-energy measures, to your point. So components that were failing or near end of useful life, the university really was looking for a path to finance and implement those. And this performance contract blanket, if you will, allowed them to do that. When we installed the battery energy storage system as well, they had electrical infrastructure that needed to be upgraded, which was quite expensive. It was high on their priority list. The savings generated from the battery and the performance contract allowed them to implement new switchgear. So to your point, we're able to do non-energy measures, if you will, in this kind of a solution. So it becomes a very, I think, a valuable structure for clients to be able to implement holistically across their portfolio.
Joe, in today's environment where educational institutions like universities have fewer and fewer funds to work with, but at the same time, more and more pressure on them to decarbonize their operations, particularly their building stock, is this kind of an energy performance contract becoming more popular?
Yeah, so they've been around for a long time, but I think you're seeing a number of different initiatives come together. To your point, you're seeing older buildings, you're seeing energy costs on the rise, you're seeing a greater emphasis on reducing carbon footprint. And at the same time, there's pressure in the system for clients to be able to fund these things. So how do you prioritize what needs to be done, and how do you ultimately go about paying for it? So a performance contract, once again, because you're generating operating savings to fund capital improvements, you're basically funding all of these improvements from future energy savings that are guaranteed by your partners, such as Ameresco. So
Joe, thank you very much. Sorry. Always appreciate your insights. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.